Welcome every one of you attending our webinar today. Thank you for your time. We want to honor your time and make this a valuable and very practical learning experience. I just want to encourage you to maximize the valuable content in the webinar today by grabbing a notebook and a pen, or however you like to take notes. Our hope and our aspiration is that you'll write down some very practical, actionable steps during our time together today, so that you can take those actionable steps and implement them in your team, in your organization, to further your success. We really want this to be valuable for you. So again, as a few other participants I can see just joining, welcome. I'm going to do a brief introduction and we're going to jump straight in. And our topic today for our webinar is how to create a game plan with measurable performance objectives. And so what today is all about is developing a strategy to attract and retain A players. And we're going to call them committed champions. That's what we like to call them. And one major game-changing tool to do that is the use of performance objectives, the effective, consistent implementation of performance objectives. And that's what I want to give you today. This is part 2 of a 4-part series. You may have noticed the last one was on critical conversations. We'll drop that link for you in the chat. The next upcoming webinar, there it is in the chat. The next upcoming webinar will be on Thursday, the 24th of March, same time. That topic is living out your diversity statement in an effort to continue to deliver good quality content for you, and we'd love you to join us at those as well. So I'm going to do a quick introduction here. Today on our panel, we've got Anthony Piccolo. He's president of performance scoring and lead technical partner for Manage for Performance. We've also got Edgar Jones, a 7-year NFL vet and VP of coaching at Manage for Performance. We've got Cherie Koudafudis. I practiced your name, Cherie. I hope I did good too. She's one of our managers in our talent optimization division, also has an MBA with emphasis on organizational leadership and over 7 years in talent strategy, recruitment, and accreditation. And I'm Dan Romer. I've worked in marketing, team development, and mentorship, and I'm a director here at Titus Talent. So let's dive right in and speak to this topic here, why we use performance objectives, why performance objectives matter, how performance objectives can drive success in your organization. And to kick off, I'm going to pass to Cherie. And what I'd like to do is, Cherie, I'd like you to please tell us a bit more to frame the conversation about what performance objectives are and why we believe so strongly in them. So take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dan. It is really hard to pronounce my last name. It's Koudafudis, but I do like Koudafudis too.
I didn't get it right, did I? Oh,
no worries.
Next webinar,
no worries.
Promise.
The next one. No, performance objectives are awesome. I can nerd out about them all day. They are a way to really hone in and bring clarity to the work that the person needs to do on the day-to-day. These are not the skills that are required for a job description. Many times you might see as other duties as assigned. What does that mean? That to me is so vague. So with performance objectives and kind of kicking job description to the wayside, you have a more specific, measurable way to assess your employees. You create a path for growth that's specific, measurable, and that way you have a way that you can coach your committed champions from day one. They know what's expected of them. They know what's expected of them day one, this quarter, next quarter, and at the annual review, 365 days in. I would love to just provide just a quick example. In the past, maybe a goal or an objective was be a good recruiter. Okay, what does that mean? How are you going to get there? So you really need to be intentional with your performance objectives. All right, in order to increase my fill ratio by 15%, by end of Q2, I will have had 100 emails daily or 60 candidate calls daily. You want to break it into chewable parts that are specific, measurable, and that makes sense. Also, activity-based is huge. A quick sample that I can also include. Imagine being a new employee. You're so excited to start your new role, and your manager as a coach brings you into an archery session. You're so excited, you have a target somewhat in front of you, and then you're blindfolded. That's the world of work without performance objectives.
Right.
You might have the tool case, you might have bow, arrow, but you're shooting in an open field without a sense of direction. To me, that's scary because you don't know, is there anyone right by the target? What's in this field? With performance objectives, you elevate the world of work and you have a specific target.
Right.
You might work alongside your manager as a coach, and they will teach you the techniques, and you'll have that extra layer of support, and you'll know, why am I aiming at the target? What is it? And how are we going to get there? And you work together alongside your manager. You can see this quote here. 50% of employees know what's expected of them at work. To me, that's deplorable. That actually gives me a sense of anxiety.
Yeah.
50%.
Yeah, I would say that's crazy. And man, that makes me feel so uncomfortable. And it should make us feel uncomfortable, because 50%, that's just not good. The job descriptions, just to reiterate what you said so well, thank you for setting the scene. They are just often vague. If we're really honest in our organizations, they are uninspiring. I don't want to tread on too many toes, but I kind of do as well. They just don't cast a vision that motivates people to excel, that brings out the best. And we need an authentic and very honest, little bit gritty conversation. They're typically broad, include more about skills, qualifications, maybe desired past experience, and just more than what a picture of what your expectations really are for this person. So the clarity in the definition that performance objectives bring tells you exactly what you need to do as their manager to help them be their best, and employees know exactly what you expect of them. So a statement, and I love how you alluded to this as well, Cherie, a statement like they must have 5 years experience tells me nothing about what you expect them to do in their role and what success looks like. So over to you, Anthony, from a practical standpoint, how do we develop performance objectives for our employees, and just as importantly, how do you engage and manage those?
Absolutely. No, great question, Dan. And yeah, to your point, let's go ahead and get practical for a minute. I mean, obviously you can have performance objectives for every individual, every role, everyone on a team in your organization. And there are really two main approaches that we kind of look at here at Manage for Performance. And the first here is we want to keep performance objectives SMART, or SMART-E, right? Specific and measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound, and then ultimately extending, right? We want to extend the person to their highest capacity. I kind of frame this up like working out. It's like your next workout, you want to add a little bit of weight or a few more reps to your workout, right? Progress is assured, and we can be motivated to reach, our new personal bests. We want these performance objectives to be synergistic. We want to include the employees as if possible, to increase buy-in, but we really want those goals themselves to play off one another, right? In the achievement of one, we're actually working to the achievement of the others, right? And I know we all know this, but we want to keep them simple. Let's focus on the top 2 or 3, maybe 5, but let's not overwhelm priorities. You can't have 37 priorities, right? So let's keep those to the point. And then this is I don't want to shameless plug M4P too much, but you need to keep those performance objectives in front of your people. That means keeping them somewhere. Of course, there's the outdated, outmoded, Excel spreadsheets and siloed information and in emails and text messages and so forth. But we want to help our partners and our clients have their performance objectives all in one place, so we can make it easier for those employees, managers, senior leadership to see exactly where they are, along with every employee that reports up to them relative to their goals and objectives. And not only that, you can track and clearly see progress and growth over time, and automate the engagement as those objectives are being met. Now, we want to measure employees on a lot of different levels, here at M4P. Obviously, the performance objectives are a critical part, and that's the focus of this webinar. But there's some other pieces that are, really almost as important or as important, specifically the skills and behaviors that need to be exhibited to find success in those roles, and then align to the values and mission of your organization, right? When we talk about retention and hiring, we're looking for those people that are going to align well as perform. So performance objective tracking is only one piece of the management puzzle, but it's obviously a very important one. And it's a best practice to make all of those performance objectives measurable and quantifiable. Now, sometimes it's a little difficult to do, and we have a whole kind of methodology around what we call scalable performance objectives. Cherie kind of hit on the other duties as assigned, which is like just a bucket of stuff. This is where those scalable objectives play really well because it's kind of like, well, yeah, they got 100% of that done, or they went above and beyond. Some people ask us, well, why is it your scalable objectives are 0 to 200%? Well, 100% is really them hitting what you expected them to do. So we wanted to provide a wider range for you to be able to recognize overachievement. So to sum up, performance objective tracking engagement helps elevate those teammates into top performers and hopefully to that committed championship level.
Love it. Thank you. And what I'd like to do, just add in a point here about the attractional piece as well, because we're talking about the whole mission, vision, values of the entire organization, and so developing our team members is extremely important, and as just as important as well is bringing them into the organization so you can leverage those performance objectives to help you attract those committed champions. And now in a candidate market, this is more important than ever. This is how our organizations are killing it. They're slaying it. They're crushing it. They're leaving the competition behind. And if you're not attracting committed champions, you're not going to bear the fruit and enjoy the success that your organization, your product, your service deserves. And so A players, those committed champions, they want to know, how am I going to be winning day one? How can I be winning day 90, 180, day 365? How am I integrally involved in the mission of the organization? How does my seat that I sit in, how does that connect with the objectives of the organization? Committed champions want to stretch goals, not just monetary. They want to know how this is going to work for them specifically, and they deserve it. So it's hugely important for attracting them into your organization as well. What I want to do is pass to Edgar. And Edgar, could you touch on how do we use these performance objectives then, once we've attracted those committed champions in, for coaching your employees? And this is I want you to answer this because this is unique from your experience. So could you speak to that?
Sure, Dan, that's a great question. Well, first, we need to understand our people. We need to understand what it looks like to successfully coach our people. And winning and success looks totally different to me compared to what it looks like for you. Winning in sales looks totally different than what it looks like in production. So understanding your people and understanding what they do well, because that's critical when it comes to setting these objectives for that individual. So now that I understand this person, now as a coach, I'm starting to set these goals for them. And I have to make sure that these are goals that we both can agree on. And once we agree on those goals, that gives the individual a sense of clarity and direction as far as what they need to be doing. Now, as a coach, now we've set these goals, I have to make sure that I'm having frequent conversations and having that dialogue with that individual to make sure they're winning on what we agreed on. So I think about my time playing in the NFL. The team objective was to win on Sunday, but we also had to master winning Monday through Saturday. And we did that through communication with the coaches and communication with the players. And with that coach communicating with the player, that gave the coach a better understanding if the player was off from hitting their goals or if they were spot on with hitting that. And through that understanding as a coach, that can guide your decisions when it's time to make decisions as a coach. And conversations give you a chance to really build trust. And with trust, you have engagement. And through those conversations and having that engagement, you can now start to win through having a culture where people are open, and you can have transparency all across the board. Now, sometimes we can have individuals on our team that's hitting those goals. And I think it's important we continue to grow and stretch individuals to be their best and to help people thrive in their work. And when people are thriving at their job and they're thriving at what they do, your business will thrive. And both of these things are attractive to committee champions. I think about when we played in the AFC championship, against the Patriots, and it was by far one of our best performances, and we still lost the game. So after the game was over with, Coach Harbaugh, he didn't talk about the scoreboard. He honestly thanked us for our effort. And I know sometimes we could easily get caught up on numbers, but we also have to remember that we're dealing with people, and even in our best efforts, we still can fall short.
That was so well said, man. That's and a good flex there as well. Loved it. Man, but I love the illustration so much, because I fully believe, and that's what we experience as an organization, I fully believe the effective implementation of performance objectives for the attraction of committed champions and the effective development and coaching of them leads to so much success and a great sense of well-being, as touches on so many other areas we could take a lot of time with. But I want to give a few minutes to questions. So as an attendee of this webinar, please feel free to pose a question in the chat box, and we'll do our best to answer your questions, to give you, just in our few remaining minutes here, give you some responses and replies. Feel free to write any questions that are unique to your context as well. And there are no questions too simple, too difficult, or silly. Anything you want to put in there within reason, I guess. And while you're considering your questions, I just wanted to give a quick plug to our next upcoming webinar, Living Out Your Diversity Statement, that'll be coming up. So please register for that upcoming webinar. And also, if you'd like to book a Manage for Performance demo, an M4P demo, so we can show you how easy it is to create and track performance objectives, then please go ahead and do that, and you can fill out our form. One question that's just come in is we have nothing like this. Where do you suggest an organization get started? So Anthony, if I can, I'll pose that question to you.
Sure. No, it's a great question. And that's usually a good first question. So depending on the organization, we always say that at the very least, start in a team where there's a little bit of a vertical, right? You've got a manager, you got some employees, you got somebody managing a project. That's a great place to start from, and then extrapolate and then kind of move out. So that's probably the simplest way to answer that question. Let's just pick a team and let's get started there. And from that, we'll leverage so many experiences and stories from that, which will actually help the adoption and the evolution of the platform within your organization.
Love it. Great. I've got one other question here. Let's pose this one. Cherie, perhaps I could ask you it. One attendee is writing, what do you do when an employee pushes back on these when you roll them out? Which I think is such a great question.
Yeah, that's actually a great question, because I know a lot of folks are hesitant with change. Instead of pushing back with the why, and that might cause someone to be on the defense, I would say, oh, let's talk about it, and really loop them into the conversation. Like, let's chat what might make them hesitant, and just really reiterate that this is intentional to support them and customizable as well. And say, yes, we're going to map this out together as a team to see how you can grow and foster this time with you. This is not a micromanaging, nitty-gritty type of thing. Let's do this, and let's build it out together as a team so that we're the most successful employees and organization that we can be, and kind of layering that in versus
Yeah.
a checklist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Dan, if I could
Please.
add something to that
Yeah.
too, I always tell when that kind of thought comes up or objection is part of what we're trying to do is give every employee a voice, and a voice that stays. How many times do we get feedback and it's in a conversation, a text message or email, and then just over time it naturally moves down the list? That's one of the things we're really trying to provide here is a way to garner, gather, and analyze feedback, and feedback that stays, right? So that's kind of one of the points I wanted to make.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, thank you both for that answer. And just to, I guess, add a bit of sort of big picture context, the fact that there's an environment for that conversation to happen is healthy, because we're human. We need to have an outlet to push back, and we need to have an opportunity for a good, inspirational, gracious leader to know that the human condition has some stress and strain, some frailties, and it's okay to not be perfect. And that's a great environment to make sure you don't run an organization that's pretending everyone's perfectly fine all day, every day. We're not. And so we need someone who's also human, that can let us push back, ask questions, vent any frustrations and so forth. So thank you, guys. I've got a question here. Edgar, can I give you this one? It's how do you increase buy-in as you start rolling this out across your organization?
That's a really good question. It starts at the top. It really does. It's one thing to go into an organization and tell the employees about what we're about to do and what we're about to release, but words are one thing and my actions are something else. So being able to, as a leader, be able to practice what I preach, and people sit back and they observe and they watch this. So doing that with the individuals that's at the top, practicing what they preach and using the tool, typically people start to slowly buy in. And then from that, they can see the benefits of the tool, and people talk. From there, they'll tell one other person and the next person. Before you know it, people have brought in, not so much because of your words, but because of your actions. My coach used to always say, speed of the leader, speed of the team. So I have to lead.
That's right. That's good. I've got one. Let me see if I got one, maybe two more questions quickly here before we wrap up, because these are very practical. Anthony, the question is, how do you help employees not feel micromanaged by using performance objectives, which I think is a great question too.
Man, it's honestly like the perfect leading question. And I'll tell you why. Look, nobody likes being micromanaged. I mean, who likes it when their boss comes in their office and they're like, hey, what are you doing? And how's this going? Just that creates its natural anxiety by tracking, right? I mean, by tracking performance objectives, it actually alleviates the necessity for that entire conversation. In fact, when a conversation comes around to the performance objective, it's not so much, hey, what are you doing and where do you stand? It's, hey, I see we stand here. I see you're doing these things. Let's together do this to, affect whatever change or continuance that we want. So I think it's actually the antithesis of micromanagement. It's really a macro management. It's a way to macro manage, because I, as a leader, as a manager and a leader, satiate my need for knowledge, for knowing what's going on, right? And now when I engage my employee, I'm not wasting their time for, with them trying to explain how we got here and what's going on, and then coming up with, whatever the engagement needs to be. I think it really just promotes a healthier conversation, a more direct conversation, without some of the high stakes worry and anxiety that can come around traditional ways to approach performance management in a spoken sense.
Yeah, I agree. I'm while you were answering that question, I'm kind of chuckling here to smiling to myself, because I'm remembering these memes I keep seeing on my Instagram feed of managers just causing untold stress by asking questions like, hey, where are we at on so-and-so project, asking the questions in such a vague way that feels just micromanaged, feels so stressful. And the employee is acting like they're not stressed, like they're not micromanaged, and they're planning their exit route from the organization. Whereas you could have done what you just said, Anthony. You could just have it clear and keep things peaceful.
Well, and just the act of having the conversation from the employee standpoint, I mean, the kind of CYA, the kind of feelings that go around the explanation of what you're doing and where you're at, just the anxiety of framing it, right? That's absolved in this scenario. And I think that's a big takeaway and a big kind of a peaceful thought, I guess, for the employee.
Yeah, sure is.
If I can jump in,
Please.
There's also anxiety, even on the flip side. So there's micromanagement, but even being undermanaged. What happens if your manager just says, keep up the good work? Well, that's not going to retain a committed champion. It's like, what about my work is good? Let's constitute this. Like, I need a game plan. It's not enough to just look at an Excel spreadsheet or Google Drive quarterly and say, yep, keep up the good work. You need some type of base to go off in real time.
100%. Great point.
Yeah, really
Yeah,
good.
CK.
Let's do one quick last one, and we'll do this super fast here as it'll be the final one. Edgar, perhaps you could help us. How do you determine if the performance objective is actually realistic, if it can be achieved, and if it's the specific question is realistic, accomplishable, and relevant, I guess. So just if you make one quick comment for us on that.
Yeah, realistic, making sure it's something that can be accomplished. It goes back to understanding your people. It truly does, understanding what they do well and what they don't. I would not take the offensive lineman and put him at receiver. Like it's just, he's out of position, so understanding your people and understanding what they do well.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Straight to the point. I'm going to bring it home, wrap it up here. I know our attendees have probably got another Zoom upcoming, so let's win a couple of minutes to get a tea or a coffee. Thank you for your time. I just want to urge you again, our hope and our aspiration from the beginning of these webinars has been that you would take away some very actionable steps. Feel free to reach out to any one of us with any further questions. You are so welcome to email us, and we'll be happy to jump on a call as well if we can dial in some advice and some input to your unique context. Also, as I already mentioned, we've got on March the 24th, our next webinar upcoming, Living Out Your Diversity Statement. Big topic, hot topic. Let's not get this wrong in our organizations. Let's grow healthy organizations, and let's build out strength from our diversity as well. So I really want to urge you to attend that webinar also. And one final thing as well, if you'd like a demo, please feel free to book the demo with us as well. And you can do that with this QR code that's on the slide in front of you. Go ahead and just snap that QR code with your camera, and it'll bring up the link where you can enter your information and book a demo. Feel free to invite other stakeholders, team members, leadership onto that, because this is an exercise in cultural transformation. It's not just a quick off-the-shelf tool. It's a very practical, simple tool, but it is an exercise in truly growing out the health and developing the culture of your organization to be a culture of coaching and inspirational culture. So thank you again for your time. Hope you've enjoyed it here. We've enjoyed ourselves, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Have a great day.